Okay, it's going to be on some kind of list.
So in the category of the worst toy, ejaculating on your friends and calling it an alien rifle is the worst toy.
Awesome! The new Oozinator blaster from Super Soaker. Major pumping required. Refill sold separately.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast. Been at ya from the Slice on Oak Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux of the city of Brainerd, and with me as always is my brother.
Sure enough.
Good. I've started to get so irritated when I'm editing these because you always step on it every single time. Like you don't give enough pause before you say something stupid. So anyways, Gabriel Johnson, how are you?
I am well, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Are you ready to draft
Let's rock
again?
and roll.
Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is draft day. The worst toy edition. So we have gathered up a list of the worst toys in history. And that could mean many different things. This is all over the place. This could be a toy that is just absolute garbage. This could be a toy that may injure or maim you.
Or kill you.
Or this is a toy that may actually kill you, which I personally would think high on the list for the worst. However, as always with draft day, we have a list of 12 items here. Each one of us must draft 4 items. Only 3 of those have to be on the board. 1 of those can be off the board, meaning anything that you have brought that is separate as well. So we drew straws. Scott, you'll be going first. I will be going second, then Gabe. Scott, you have the first pick in the worst toy edition draft. Which one are you going with? Oh,
Let's get a list.
let's get the list. Let's maybe tell people.
What are the options?
What are the options? All right, number 1 on the list is lawn darts. Jarts, as you may. Number 2 is sock'em boppers.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2 is Slinky.
Number 3 is Okay, let's give a little bit of a heads up to the
Let's
audience.
make sure we get this list exactly right.
So Gabe hates it when my list is different than his list. So I said, let's make sure our lists are the same. However, right before we started, I said, I'm switching Slinky.
Mine is in pen.
All right, so on the list, number 2 is Slinky. Number 3 is sock'em boppers. Are we back on track?
We're on track.
Okay. Number 4 is Punisher Cock Rocket. Cock Rocket. Is that right?
That's what you put. He
Cock
just
rocket.
called it a
You call it.
transformer.
Okay. We'll get to what that is. The Punisher Cock Rocket. It doesn't even sound like the right words. Number 5 is Growing Up Skipper. Number 6, Gilbert U238 Atomic Energy Lab. Then we have Snack Time Cabbage Patch Doll, the Wham-o Water Wiggle, CSI Finger Print Lab, then probably the best finger of all time, the ET finger.
just a finger.
Just a finger. And then Moon Shoes. And then on my list, I have Slinky. However, the last item on the list is just straight up the recorder.
Yes.
The wonderful quote unquote musical instrument. Scott, those are your options. What are you going to go with first here?
You know, I think I have to go with the one that got banned because it killed 3 kids. And that would be the lawn dart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. The Jart is off the board. Let's talk about it. Actually, kind of a cool toy. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Until you die.
So you
I
take
mean-
one, yeah.
I mean, how did these kids die? I never really looked into it. Did they play the game where you just throw it up as high as you can and play chicken with it?
Potentially, that was one of the things that was happening. I think the last one that died was a little girl that like walked across while they were playing, if I remember correctly. So yeah, and humor is to be had in all of our episodes. The killing of children is not humorous. However, jarts is a very funny word. So we'll just
Therefore, ha ha.
but actually, we had a neighbor, good friend of mine. I was friends with the pastor's son, and I went to their house all the time. And they had jarts. They had them, and this was in '88.
My grandparents had it.
Yeah, '89.
So, let's back up.
Yeah.
Steel darts.
Yes.
About 18, 24 inches long.
Maybe not quite that, but yes.
Yeah. Big darts. You go about beanbag width, 40 feet apart.
40 feet.
And you try to throw it in a hula hoop.
Into
basically.
a hula hoop, yep.
And not into people's craniums.
Preferably not into anyone's anything. With the spike. It's just a steel spike. That's all it is.
It's a dart.
Yes. Yes.
It's a giant, sharp dart.
Yeah. A fun game, though. We played it. Had a lot of fun. It's very satisfying when that thing just sticks itself into the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, very dangerous. And so at first they took it off shelves and said, "Oh, we just don't brand that for kids. It's not for kids." And then a little girl died. And they're like, "Wait a minute, turns out kids can find these."
Or the darts can find the kids.
Oh God. Youch. All right, so anyway.
My grandparents' set was not, the kids were not allowed to use it. But we knew exactly where it was and played with it all the time.
All the time, yep. Yeah, by the time we had access to them, everyone was well aware that these were not something that should be played with, and yet we were playing with them. And there was no supervision when we were playing with these things. It wasn't like they were like, you know what, if we watch you and everyone's on the same side and, no, we were just take that steel spike and start throwing it around the backyard.
Yeah.
I'll call you in for lunch. So that's an excellent first pick.
Yep, that's my number one.
Okay. Sticking with things that will kill you, I am going to go with and just because we just found it today, the Wham-o water wiggle.
This is the worst.
Here's the reason why I like this. There are other items on here that they were like, turns out kills kids. The commercial for the Wham-o water wiggle, it actually shows a lady almost dying.
Getting strangled by a flying water hose.
So the Wham-o water wiggle evidently was a tube that you attached to a hose. So you would take it out to the back, you'd hook this tube up to this hose, and it's a lesser hose that just flies around the air. So what on the end of it is evidently a metal spout that is just covered with like a rubbery bell-shaped smiley face wiggly thing.
A bell end, if you will.
A bell end, sure. And that's what sprays the water over and gets the giggles going from the wiggle. However, not only can this thing that flaps around potentially wrap around your neck, it will wrap around your neck, as shown in the commercial.
This is what it does.
It shows a lady, and she has a bit of panic on her face.
A little nervous smile. Oh God.
Yeah, but evidently also the metal end on it was also very dangerous. I've read some things from people saying, yeah, I got smacked in the face with this, concussions, all this stuff. However, it finally got taken off the market because a 4-year-old died because it got lodged in their mouth and they fucking drowned.
Oh.
So, fuck the water wiggle, worst toy.
Fucking thing sucks!
You weren't even advertising that my kid could put it in its mouth, but you want to know what we're going to learn on all of these? Kids put them in their fucking mouth. You waterboarded a fucking 4-year-old. See you later.
All right.
Off the board. The Wham-o water wiggle.
What a way to start a podcast. Just two things in a row. Killing
We killed
kids.
two little small children already.
It is
What you got, Gabe? How many people is the Slinky killed?
probably a lot. Probably a lot. All right, Gabe, it is over to you for 2 choices here.
Well, speaking of kids putting things in their mouths, We're going to go with the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab.
That was going to be my next pick if it somehow made it back to me.
So that was in 1950, the atomic age, right?
Yep.
They created a toy for children that contained 4 different radioactive samples of rocks. And it wasn't harmful amount of radiation so long as the kids left them in the containers.
As kids are known to do.
Yeah, they always follow the rules, leave the rocks in the containers. They never take the rocks out.
No.
Never put them in their mouth. Nobody's getting radiation poisoning. It was on the shelf for about a year.
Really bizarre.
Do we have a video, or has anyone seen what it looks like when you take them out of their container?
Oh, no, but I do
It's
know.
like the intro from The Simpsons, I think.
Probably.
Radiation,
or like your shirt.
Radiation is so terrible. Like you see the things that happen to people when they get high doses of radiation, like the guy that's jaw that fell off. Like, no, thank you. How about, just hear me out here. We don't put that in a toy for children.
Pussy.
All right, Atomic Energy Lab off the board. Gabe, what do you got coming next?
It's a tough one. I mean, on the turn, I missed 3 picks. I'm going to go with the Snack Time Cabbage Patch doll.
That is also a good one.
Speaking of mouths, so this was a Cabbage Patch doll that had a robotic mouth that could chew. You could put French fries in, and it would chew them up. Pretty fun.
Pretty fun.
Kids loved it. It didn't have a kill switch. So kids would get their fingers, their hair, their articles of clothing stuck in this doll's mouth, and it just
slowly devour them.
Devours their hair, rips their hair out of their head.
And then it put it in a nice little backpack on the back. Yep.
She's my Cabbage Patch snack time kid. She really loves to snack. Wow, she really chews. I love to feed my Cabbage Patch snack time kid. Cabbage Patch Kid snack time kit comes with all the play food you see here. Eat sold separately, batteries not included. Prove it out.
So that's my pick. That's a terrible toy.
It certainly does suck.
Cabbage Patch dolls are a little weird, but I had one as a kid. Loved it. Loved that thing to death. But yeah, you probably don't want things that continuously devour.
Yeah.
And how horrifying. As a child,
Oh my God. Yeah.
you're being
What do you do?
you're being sucked into your toy. It's eating you.
Oh, that sounds like the start of a great kids movie.
Yeah. Can you imagine the first parent that had it happen? It's eating me.
How do I make it stop? You don't.
Just start,
You don't.
just start bashing its head onto the table. Yeah, the only way to get it to stop was to actually take the batteries out, which I don't know if you've ever had batteries in a toy.
I'm sure there's more than just that way to get a toy to stop.
Oh, you punch it multiple times.
Rip its head off.
Yeah, I did not have a Cabbage Patch doll as a kid, much like my Zubas.
Oh,
My grandma sold me a Cabbage Patch doll.
Grandma made your own Cabbage Patch doll?
Oh no! Oh god, this is a coleslaw doll. All right.
Does this thing still exist?
I don't know. I've had multiple house fires.
Yeah. Man, so I'm next here. I've got a few options. I think it is an awful toy, and more so it's just hilarious. The Punisher cock rocket is going to be my selection. So there are tons of toys out there that have things that look phallic. And you think to yourself, like, how did this get this far? Right?
It's just a finger.
Well, yeah, there was one I saw that was like a little blow up inner tube, and it was some character, and the spout to blow up was right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, come on, right? But the Punisher cock rocket, which we will call, because I have no idea what it is supposed to be other than this, is just a very angry action figure of the Punisher that has a rocket. That is his cock.
That's protruding
protruding
from his pelvis.
And protruding aggressively. He's got just a stance on him that looks like I got something for you.
Yeah, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it.
And the best part is that his name is the Punisher. So that's why I'm picking it. you
I never even made that connection.
It's not Spider-Man or Superman. It's the Punisher.
Punisher. Is that his name or the Rocket's name?
I don't know. However, it is off the list. The Punisher, Cock Rocket. Scott, it's over to you.
All right, I have to. Well, I get 2, don't I?
Yep.
You get 2.
Okay, so just to get it off the board, the recorder's got to go.
Oh, that
The
was going to be my
recorder
next one.
has to go. Does anybody need an explanation why? It's just the worst.
No, you have Jarts and the recorder, which is probably the worst afternoon you can have. The kids are playing the recorder and mom's like, go outside.
Yeah.
And then they die.
Go outside and play with the darts.
Anything but this goddamn thing. I just threw one away maybe 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, my daughter had a friend over and she got out her recorder to show off to her friend and just blew into it once. And her friend said, "You're really bad at that." My daughter put it down.
Thank God.
Put that thing down about as fast as her head went straight down.
Good.
Go started pouting. I was like, other child. Yeah, that was kind of mean.
No.
Daughter, she's not wrong.
No, she's right.
That's awful.
But in fairness to your daughter, nobody's good at the recorder.
No, it's impossible.
It's the recorder.
It's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible. Yeah. One Christmas, I can't remember what it was. So my kid's grandma got one of my children a recorder. I think she got one of them a recorder or 2 of them a recorder.
There were multiple recorders.
So I wanted to and never did, but it's one of the things I regret the most in life. Was I wanted to get every single one of her grandchildren a recorder for Christmas so that they all opened them the same. Because there's no way to stop it. If every kid opens a recorder, it is impossible for you to stop that situation. And your house fucking sucks now. So I never did. So I'll pull that out someday. Scott, you are on your 3rd pick here.
All right. Next, I have to. No, I don't necessarily think that this is. I mean, it's not really a dangerous toy or even really whatever. But the E.T. finger toy.
Good, because I almost had to pick 2 cock-related.
Mine.
So let's talk about the E.T. finger. What was going on with the E.T. finger?
Well, have you seen the movie E.T., the extraterrestrial?
I have.
Well, he has a finger that glows. Mm-hmm. And in some way, shape, or form, it contacts his brethren.
Well, more so than anything, it lets you know that there's magic, right? This alien has some magic.
Yeah.
And so as a child, you probably want to have some magic. Mm-hmm. You probably want it. So why wouldn't you make a toy that is an E.T. finger?
Yeah. That is a 7-inch skinny dildo.
It is not just a skinny dildo, but it is inappropriately long.
It's long. It's long and skinny, and it might be veiny. I didn't get a good look at it, but I got enough of a look at it to know exactly what that is.
I just love that, like, the idea of that is like, oh yeah, I get that. That ties in great with the movie. And then there are so many levels of people that saw that and just kept watching it go down the process to where it ended up on a shelf, even including the guy that had to hang it on the hook.
Yep.
Oh, I guess we're selling dildos now.
Yeah, make it a whole glove, guys. Make it a whole glove, not just one finger.
Like a foam finger. Yeah, but then we'd be talking about the E.T. fister.
Yeah.
That's a great selection. I'm not going to lie to you because I probably would have picked it next. Okay, so Scott has Jarts, the recorder, and the E.T. finger, which is the only thing you can call it. It is the E.T. finger. Mm-hmm. I right now have the Wham-o water wiggle, the Punisher cock rocket, and Gabe has the U238 Atomic Energy Lab, as well as, Gabe, I forgot to mark your second one down.
Snack time, Cabbage Patch.
That is right. The Cabbage Patch. There's a couple here that I really want to go with, but as a man that has horrible ankles, just the worst ankles in the history of mankind, the moon shoes can f right off. I was watching a video of a little girl jumping on these things, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I know what's going to happen. And then she's having a mediocre time.
Yeah.
And then there goes her ankle. She falls over backwards. And I immediately had to click off it. I was like, I can't watch ankle injuries. I've had so many ankle injuries. But beyond that, we're talking about the worst toy. The moon shoes are literally the worst toy. Not only are you going to break your ankle, but you will have had negative fun before having broken your ankle. They are an item that looked so goddamn cool. Everyone thought these things were cool because they've come out multiple times throughout history as well. It wasn't just the one time, because the last ones I think were Guts themed, Nickelodeon Guts themed moon shoes, because they actually used them in one of the races on the show, Nickelodeon Guts.
You know why? Because it makes everything harder and less fun. It was a challenge in a game.
True freaking story, because they had a track where they raced around, and there were like two different things they did. One was a bike where you had to steer with your knees, and the other was jumping in these stupid shoes just because they knew it would take a little extra time. Fuck moon shoes. Moon shoes should have been so cool. They are so dumb. They are just a ridiculously stupid toy. Hey, also, you're going to break your ankle. So, as a man with bad ankles, I'm taking moon shoes, but mostly because they are the worst. I hate them.
Gonna have a bad time.
All right, Gabe.
All right, we've still got a couple of good ones on the board.
Quite a
here.
few.
Yeah. You know, since I don't know what the growing up skipper is, I'll leave that for you to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the sock and boppers.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot those were even on the board. Damn it.
They were yours.
Yeah, I know.
You put them on the board.
Like, I was too. They had the ET finger
into
on my
ET.
brain.
And rightfully so.
Couldn't get that thing out of my head.
Yeah, you couldn't get that thing out of you if you tried.
So the sock and boppers, inflatable
They're beach balls.
Yep.
beach balls that for your hand. You can put your hand in, and then
Punch.
you just punch people in the head.
Yeah,
Until
the end.
it deflates and the other person's knocked out.
Yeah, until you have a thin plastic layer around your fist.
You're just bare knuckle boxing. Stop with the recorder. Go outside with the sock and bop.
Again, a great concept just from like the get-go where you're like, oh, it'd be cool. Kids can go out and they'll just lightly, sock each other.
Yeah, it's
you
like
call them
it's like,
sock'ems.
it's like a pillow fight.
Yeah. Except it's not. Plus, like a beach ball always has that one little ridge that is super sharp.
Yeah.
So you're
right in the eye.
Oh, right in the eye. You're for sure gonna have that night. You're gonna look like Scar from the Lion King.
Quiver with fear.
Yeah. That's a terrible toy.
Terrible toy.
Terrible toy. Before you pick your last one, though, can you give us a honorable mention? Do you got an honorable mention?
Do you want me to go honorable mentions before you guys have gone off the board?
Oh, we could do that. Either way, whatever you want to do.
I'd like to see her off the board.
He's going to go honorable mention, and then I'm just going to take that.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay, fair enough. Gabe.
Gabe, you want to just give us a couple more ideas now that you don't have another chance to guess?
I know what mine is. So
I'm going off the board for my last pick.
okay.
And I'm going with guns.
And in the final round of the worst toy, Gabe Johnson selects guns.
Guns.
Okay, yeah, win. I'll put that down as a win.
It's a terrible toy.
So let's talk about it.
They're dangerous.
We grew up before the time where they even put the orange tip. The orange tip on the end of the gun came about because we were kids and people were dying because they had a gun and police officers or whomever thought it was a real gun. I remember some pretty realistic looking guns. That
they
kids
tried
had.
to make BB guns look like real guns.
Yes, they did. And crazy. Well, even just like one kid had, it was like a full on assault rifle, like a military style. But you pull the trigger and it like went. Even that type of gun, at least in my head back then, was like, oh, that thing's fucking real. This is a real gun.
They are. Even the crappy airsoft guns are real guns.
Yeah.
It cause some serious damage.
Yeah. Also, so many potential injuries
From guns.
from guns. Kids, don't play with them.
Yeah, how long were you holding on to that one?
Weeks. Been holstering it for a few weeks. We've been planning this for 3 weeks, and I knew right away I'm going off the board. And I'm going with guns.
God. Well, sticking with guns, my off the board selection is the Oozinator.
The Oozinator.
So the Oozinator is something that you have to watch the commercial for. So I'm going to flip this baby around here for you guys, and we're just going to watch the commercial for the Oozinator.
Okay.
What do you call the new water and ooze blasting Oozinator?
Oh, yeah.
Gross! Ew! Disgusting! And of course, awesome! The new Oozinator blaster from
Okay. You're going to be on some kind of list.
So in the category of the worst toy, ejaculating on your friends and calling it an alien rifle is the worst toy. So the Oozinator was a gun, and it came out. It was initially made by Super Soaker, I believe. And it came out in the early 2000s, I think like 2006. I saw something that said 1996, but I could not confirm that. I believe it was 2006. And it's a Super Soaker that you bought this. Let's just call it what it is. Semen.
You bought this cum.
You buy. It's probably
where the guys stole from the bulls last week.
Yeah. Throw back to last week. Go watch it. That's why this guy stole it. He's bought stock in the Oozinator. You would put this cartridge in there that was ooze, but it's clear. It's clear ooze. It is semen. There's no way you can convince me that it's not semen. And the commercial is. They didn't even go like, hey, it's fun to shoot things. They just had a bunch of kids getting
It was fun to receive it.
Yeah. Every kid getting shot was like, oh, no.
Please don't do it again.
Oh, not on my chest.
I think there was some kid somewhere that got that toy and was so excited to bring it to their friend's house. And then their friend was like, dude,
did you just come on me?
dude, you need to go home.
What is in your Super Soaker? You heard about kids like peeing in their Super Soaker. These kids went the extra mile.
Just the mom coming around the corner and just, Travis, it's time to go home. So the worst toy, I'm going to leave it at that. So the Oozinator. I as well have been holding on to that for multiple weeks.
I do not remember that one.
I don't think many people remember that one. I don't think it had a long run in the realm of Super Soaker.
And even the people who did encounter it probably had such severe childhood trauma that it's been blacked out.
Or someone's got a whole basement of Oozinators. All right, Scott.
A bunch of kids had to go to therapy after that one.
So, Scott, you are last on the list, and then we'll throw out our honorable mentions. The list still includes, or you're going off the board, but our list, you don't have to. Our list includes the Slinky, Growing Up Skipper, CSI Fingerprint Lab. I believe that's it. Mm-hmm. So, but you can pick anything you want.
I initially was going to go with the Slinky. Mm-hmm. Because those things operate in a similar plane as USB drives.
Yes, absolutely.
In that they live in a totally separate dimension.
Yeah.
When a Slinky gets tangled in itself,
impossible.
It is impossible to untangle them.
Impossible.
And I don't understand why. It never makes any sense.
It's the worst.
It never makes any sense.
In terms of the worst toy, it is so far up there because my kids have Slinkies right now. They're plastic. That's the other thing too.
That's the problem. Plastic Slinkies aren't Slinkies.
Yeah, but even the metal ones though, once it gets a kink in it, it's over. But I have untangled those Slinkies nonstop for 3 weeks straight. Nonstop.
Yeah.
You finish, they take them away for 5 seconds, and it is tangled immediately again, and impossible to untangle. So the worst.
Fun. An afternoon of fun.
However, what's your selection?
My selection is a game,
Okay.
and it is the game Mousetrap.
Okay.
yes.
All right.
That game.
Indeed.
You look at the box and you see the commercial and you think this is going to be a great time. And then you open it up and you're like, oh, I need to spend 6 hours putting this together.
Yep.
And another 4 trying to find the one piece that's missing that
Yep.
makes the game not work.
Yep. And multiple little rubber bands.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Yep.
the game, you buy the game, you play it once,
Yep.
and it's a lot of fun. And then you can never play it again, no matter how badly you want to. You think it's going to be so much fun, but it never fucking works
I don't even remember how the actual game works.
No.
because it doesn't.
No, and then the worst is your friends come over like, ooh, Mousetrap.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
No.
We do not open that box.
Yeah, no.
I've asked my mom to burn it 4 times.
Yes, the idea of the fun is better than the fun that we would actually have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that is a great pick. It really is. It's a terrible. First of all, I don't remember the game. So the game itself may not be terrible, but it is not memorable.
No.
The only thing memorable about it is that it never works. The pieces are never there, and then it is completely unsatisfying as well. Plus, it had the net. The last piece is the net, and all that's holding it up is like one little thing that if the thing touches it, then the whole thing falls.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is getting to the Rube Goldberg-ness of the last net falling, but yet the net falls halfway through the game anyways.
Yes, 17 times a game.
Yep.
The most of your time is spent putting the net back up.
No, it's going to be really cool when somebody actually
Yeah.
does this.
And then somebody gets there and you try and it doesn't fucking work.
Yes.
And you're like, all right, hang on, put your guy in there and then I'll just drop it on there myself.
It was such a dumb goddamn. And it could be cool. Could be cool. Somebody should make a cool Mousetrap game.
Yeah, the idea of the game is fun.
Yep.
In practice, it doesn't fucking work at all.
Yep. So I'm going to go with the honorable mention here. There's so many terrible toys. And I'm just going to stick with the recorder because we've talked about this before, but the harmonica is also a horrible fucking toy because not regular harmonicas. Harmonicas are terrible. I hate them. But
What about Blues Traveler?
Blues Traveler is great, but your kids at least 7 times in their life will come home with a fake plastic harmonica that has nothing to do with anything. It doesn't work, and it is just this plastic little nonsense that they will play. Luckily, they lose it, unlike the recorder. But my honorable mention is the harmonica because I fucking hate it so much. But I do want to talk just super fast about Growing Up Skipper, because Growing Up Skipper is a Barbie, and Skipper is her little sister. Okay, and at some
even
point,
weirder.
So at some point in the 80s, they decided, and maybe it was the 90s, but at some point they decided, well, it's time for Skipper to grow up. And so instead of just making a Skipper that's a little bit more grown up, they decided to make a doll where if you ratchet her arm up and down, like the Kung Fu Grip G.I. Joe, she grows an inch
Okay.
and then gets boobs.
Sprouts boobs.
She sprouts.
So you move her arm to make her taller, and then she grows boobs, which, whatever, right? Except for the fact that I don't want my little girl like running around being obsessed with boobs and growing boobs. That's going to happen anyways, right? Anyone that's had a little girl knows that that's a part, like boobs become a part of their life. They want boobs. But I don't need to introduce the toy that's like, just wait, it's coming. Ratchet that arm up and down enough and you'll get it. What a ridiculous fucking toy. What a ridiculous fucking toy.
Terrible.
It's a little weird.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I would not get my child that toy. So, Gabe, let's round us off. Give us your honorable mention.
Honorable mention, the worst toys. Ninja stars.
Guns and ninja stars. I was thinking about ninja stars the whole time we were talking about lawn darts.
Pretty much the same thing. Yeah, speaking of which, and we should really go get that, by the way. The one we didn't talk about was the CSI Fingerprint Lab. Let's throw that out real quick.
Okay, I put that on the board. I almost picked it, but I already had the radiation.
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going to go before you dropped guns on us.
So the CSI Fingerprint Lab kit, introduced in like 2007.
Yep.
Like when we knew toxic chemicals were bad.
2007 was a horrible year for kids' toys, by the way. I'll throw that out afterwards.
Okay. So it was just a little thing. You could do a fingerprint and test it, and just like on the show CSI.
Dust for prints.
7% asbestos.
7.
Enough to cause cancer later in life.
Will cause cancer.
Removed from shelves.
Yeah.
In 2007, they were putting asbestos, powdered asbestos, in kids'
In a
toys.
kid's toy.
In a kid's toy.
And of course, they weren't putting it in their mouth. They didn't want to know what that tastes like.
No.
Well, and the thing with asbestos is that it's the particles that get into your lungs. So now we've put it into powder form. Let's
Much
maybe
easier.
stop.
Easier delivery method.
Yeah, let's stop. Speaking of 2007, I don't know for sure if the CSI thing was 2007, but 2007 was when my oldest kids were little. And so the Easy Bake Oven was reintroduced after they had to take out the bulb that burnt you. And that thing evidently was maiming kids because there was a door that shut and kids were getting their hands stuck and burned. Isabel had that toy. The other toy that I had on here, and I'm actually really upset because I kind of forgot, and I'm not gonna lie, I got a little flustered. That's why I went with harmonica because I couldn't remember what my honorable mention was. Aqua Dots. Do you remember the Aqua Dots at all? So you've seen perler beads, right? The perler beads that you put down and then you
Iron.
Yep. So the idea of this was instead of that, you had like a pen and you would do like the perler beads, but there were these little tiny balls, and then you would spray water on it and they would glue themselves together. The problem with this is that, as we've said, children like to put things in their mouths. These, when digested, release the compound GHB, which is the date rape drug.
What?
Kids were going into comas because they put these little balls into their mouths and swallowed them, and they literally released the compound GHB. My children had these. I would say that if I dug through enough boxes, I could find these in my house right now. I could almost guarantee you there's a box somewhere that has this product in it.
iKnowBadeaux.
Yeah, just stockpile a hidden GHB.
Hanging on to the GHB. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like, of all things, I knew there was something up because it's clear.
Because my kids would never wake up.
Well, you'd spritz it with water.
Put down that recorder and eat some parlor.
Well, that's how you get them to put the recorder down. Just get some of this going. Don't you want to play with that pen again? But yeah, you would just spritz it with water and it would glue itself together. So I always thought, it's just like a Elmer's glue or something that is a loose compound of that, you know, that then when it dries, stuck together. Yeah, straight up kids going into comas because they consumed, which of course, I'm sure my kids were.
Tell me how much it takes.
Sure, my kids were eating these things left and right because that's what kids do. All right, let's get out of here. So the final list that we have here.
Do you want honorable mention?
I don't have any honorable mentions. I can't think of any other terrible toys.
So you
Well, I mean, I picked off the board Mousetrap.
Okay.
But as far as like honorable mention terrible toys, I mean, if you want to talk about like the daddy saddle or whatever.
Oh God, we didn't put the Kenner's daddy saddle. Man, I'm so disappointed that we didn't put that on the list. Kenner's daddy saddle. This is okay. It was the 70s, I'm sure.
They make them. The Kenner's one is the one that we all saw, but I just searched for daddy saddle. They still make them.
well, they also still make ET fingers, but they just don't call it that anymore.
That's fair.
Scott, you're off the board was the Slinky. So
No. The Slinky was on the board.
well, but you like honorable mention.
He didn't draft it.
You didn't draft it. That was your honorable mention. All right. So anyways,
How can my honorable mention be one that was on the board?
It can't be.
What are you talking about? It's not an honorable mention.
Well, you didn't pick it, so it's
It
honorable.
had the honor of being on the list.
It was already on the list. It doesn't need to be honorably mentioned. It was honorably mentioned to begin with. That's how it got on the list.
These guys are the worst.
Correct. These guys are right.
In the list of
Technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
in a list of things, the worst. All right, so Scott, your list was the Jarts,
Yes.
the recorder, the ET finger, and mousetrap. Fantastic list. Mine was the Wham-o water wiggle, the Punisher cock rocket, moon shoes, and the Oozinator. A lot of innuendo going on mine there. Thanks for the moon shoes saving us a little bit. Gabe,
You really should. You really should have got the ET finger.
That would have been a nice grouping.
well, if you get the ET finger, you're going to end up with the Oozinator. Scott or Gabe, your list was the Gilbert U238 Atomic Energy Lab, the Cabbage Patch, which was the snack time Cabbage Patch specifically, Sock'em Boppers, and then guns. So there's that.
That's so good. That's so funny.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week. We said we were going to have a guest this week. We will have a guest next week. I see. Well, maybe it's next week or it's the news. Whatever happens next week happens. And then again, we're coming up on 1997. We've already been conversing because we've been watching some movies from 97, talking about some shows from 97. I can tell you right now that there is a specific movie from 1997 that is absolute dog shit that two of us have not been able to finish, and yet it made a lot of money.
I'm going to do 20 minutes on the past.
Be prepared for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get out of here, and we will see you in 1 week's time. And with that, we're done. I got completely flustered there because I couldn't think of what my off the board was. And so then I went with the harmonica, which I do agree with, honorable mention. But there are way better options than that. I mean, the Kenner Daddy saddle should have been there. The Aqua balls are fucking unbelievable. I cannot believe that that's a thing. But just the idea that any of these things existed blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Yeah, if I didn't have guns, I would have went with the original creepy crawler.
Yes.
What's wrong with those?
Not the one we had as kids,
Yeah.
but the original back in like the 60s or 70s. The plastic that it melted released toxic chemicals in the air and was knocking kids out.
Yeah, they didn't know that, hey, well, they probably figured it out from that.
Yeah.
Why are all these kids dying?
It's the darts and the guns.
Well, but it all. Well, the original one was heated up too. I don't. Was the one that we had was still heated up?
We had, I think, light bulb heat in ours.
Yeah.
But the original one got to like 400
Yes.
degrees and
Yes.
released toxic chemicals. It was,
Yeah. I was amazed at how hot some of these things got. There was one that said it got to like 600 degrees. My oven doesn't go to 600 degrees.
My oven at the pizzeria barely gets to 600 degrees.
Yeah, what are you doing that you made a toy that gets to 600 degrees? Hey, don't put your finger in there. It says right on the instructions. Unbelievable.
God, I love this country.